in just one moment. All right. Oops. There we go. There we go. Ay, ay, ay. Oh, crap. I almost just spilled my coffee on myself. Manuel, what's going on? I actually woke up so early this morning. I got up at 3:45. And I was going to go live at 6. And I was like, I think that's too early. So I was just doing stuff on my computer. Is New York getting big snow anytime soon? There's snow in your medium to long range here on pretty much every model. If you're expecting snow in New York City in the next week, probably not. But the second half of January looks very cold and snowy for the east, and we're going to get into that in a second. Yeah, you did, Emmanuel. But what's interesting is we're getting our own low forcing off the trough. So here's our original storm system that we thought our trough could pick up and tilt, and we could get a major system. It outruns. Look at it. It outruns it. But because this trough is amplified enough, it's creating its own storm system here. So. But yeah, this is the main right here. The main piece of energy to the south is outrunning. There it is. The Euro was right. See it outrunning this cold air. Here's our low here. Here's our trough. It's outrunning it. Outpacing it. So you don't get that big snowstorm through Colorado, Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa. But you do get a tilt right here. But this is just based off of the low pressure forming off of this trough, cold warm air interaction there over the plains. It's not what we were originally looking at. It's not going to be as intense. Still time to change. Still time for this storm system to slow down a tiny bit and maybe get influenced by our trough. You know? So, still time. We'll see. Doesn't look too, doesn't look as intense as it did. Oh my God, I've been congested for 10 days straight. Yeah, exactly. Morning, Brandon. Morgan, what's going on? Will upstate South Carolina get snow this winter? Tough to tell. You see what happens here at the end of these control and operational runs on the GFS and Euro. They both see a very big dip in our jet stream. Now, this is something we expect it to happen a little bit closer to the second week, not the third week of January. But regardless, it's happening. Our cold air, that Arctic air, is taking a little bit longer to sink down. What we do see, and I talked about it in my video today, that's going to really influence the second half of January, that the models are starting to have some confidence on. So look what's happening only about 240 hours out, ridging. Look at this ridge over Alaska out west. This is beginning to pierce our tropospheric polar vortex. And that's going to send a lot of cold air downstream. Now, the problem is, if this ridge forms a little bit farther out west, you still have the possibility of this cold air diving in farther west and not being east. Let's take a look at how the European sees it. Go to the 12Z or 00Z European. You see that ridge begins to form over Siberia, begins to form over Alaska. That's going to push into our tropospheric polar vortex, and look at this collapse of cold air on the Euro. It's really from coast to coast on the Euro in the States, really from coast to coast. Move forward in time. Look at this. Major Arctic blast on the Euro, on the GFS, for the second half of January. Canadian's not going to go as far out. But notice what starts to happen at the Canadian. On the Canadian as well around January 15th. See the ridging out here? Starting to push up over Alaska. Cold air that starts to form out here over the east. So, interesting. Talking about how our models didn't agree on anything the last couple of days. Now they finally agree on this big ridging. This big potentially negative EPO pattern. Negative EPO pattern going into the second half of January. That would influence a lot of downstream cold air into the States around the coldest time of the year, January 20th. Second, third week of January. And if you take a look at how cold these models really expect it to get, even though it's far out, we'll take a look at it for fun here. Since we have sort of a tiny bit of model consensus, let's take a look. Let's take a look at our apparent temperatures on the Euro as we get out on the 00Z. So just some insanity happening up there. You get to almost negative 45 in Minnesota. Feels like you go to actual temperature. Look at this actual temperature, almost negative 20 degrees. But this is near the end of the model run. But again, we're talking about this because all this collapse of cold air on the Canadian, or that bridge building on the Canadian, European, and GFS. Take a look at the GFS around this time frame. It gets pretty wacky as well. It gets pretty wacky out here, as you can see. Actual temperatures, negative 10s, negative 15s up there in the upper Midwest. So we'll see. Teleconnections kind of telling the same story. Our teleconnections are starting to get on board. We all know what our weeklies were doing. Our weeklies yesterday said we were going to be hot for the rest of January. Positive AO. Strong tropospheric polar vortex. Not so much today. The control model drops way south. And the European said, you know what? I don't think we're going to be baking the rest of January. I think come second half of January, we're going to be freezing across the country. One thing stay consistent, though. The mean has always been slightly negative. Our ensembles, our mean has always been slightly negative on the AO for the second half of January on the European weeklies. Same with our GFS extended. Here's through January, the mean stays negative the whole time as we get into the second week of January and on. So does our control there, obviously. Our European AI extended, same thing. Negative AO, negative NAO. Look at the mean, stays cold. So, you know, hey, could we have a warm, dry second and third week of January across the East Coast, across the states? Yes, we could. Not what the models are reading right now. The models are reading a cold, potentially. We'll see. We need that negative NAO set up. Potentially snowy second half of January across the East. Especially when you look at our ensembles, which is you're going to want to pay attention to the ensembles more because we all know how operational runs flip back and forth. You can see all these. Take a look at our NAO. Take a look at the green line here. Follow our ensembles through January. All right, that's our NAO. That's our AO. This is on the GFS extended. Here's on the European AI. AO, NAO negative. European weeklies. NAO, AO negative. So, yeah, second half, third, fourth week of January. Let's see what happens. I say it all the time, but if you want a big, if you want a nor'easter, nice nor'easter, you want snow in the southeast, snow in the southern plains, you want your coldest, you want a nice Arctic blast setup for the second and third week of January, maybe the first week of February, because that's when typically, obviously, the northern hemisphere is the coldest. So I like this look for you guys. I think it's a nice little look for everyone. Quickly, before I get to questions, did I say December? Have I been saying December? January, whatever. I still don't even believe it's 2026. Anyways, I'm talking about January, guys. If I was saying December, my brain's just shut off currently, I guess. Last thing before we get into questions. Here we go. 7 to 10 day forecast. Obviously, over the next few days, it's going to be warm over the plains, warm in the southeast. A little bit of a clipper system moving over the northeast there. I want to take a look at what our snow expectations are from the National Weather Service. Nothing crazy. Nothing crazy. 5 to 6 inches in upstate New York, Utica north. A little bit of snow for the mountains. Well, and lowland for much of Maine. Vermont, New Hampshire, a tiny bit of snow possible. For Massachusetts, even an inch possible. Into Boston over the next 7 days. Good snow out west in the mountains. Ice could be a tiny bit of an issue. Obviously, the main concern region is right in here. I'd say Eau Claire to Green Bay. Watch out. You guys could see the most significant ice issues. Light yellows, light oranges. This is going to make for rough driving, but overall not too bad. All right, let's get back here. We get into Thursday morning. What starts to happen? Low pressure system moving across the plains. You can see right here, polar jet beginning to collapse behind this low pressure system. If you wanted a big snowstorm, and we talked about this the last couple of days, you wanted this system here, to be more like here and here. You wanted them to link up to be able to tilt, put a big snowstorm through eastern Colorado, even potentially Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, northern Missouri, Iowa. Our southern piece of energy outran our trough, outran our system here. So what does that mean? Well, as we get into Thursday and Friday, some rain across the plains up towards the Midwest, but our trough is going to pull this cold, dry air into some more moist air off the Gulf. And we're going to get a little bit of a tilt here, and someone's going to get a snowstorm up here, Wisconsin, Iowa, Illinois, Minnesota, maybe northern Missouri. We'll see as we get into Friday night, Saturday. Same time frame, Friday night, Saturday. We got to watch for some severe weather, Dixie Alley out through the southeast, up towards the mid-Atlantic. Let's watch for severe weather there, Friday into Saturday. Getting into Sunday, a little bit of a cold air collapse back into the east. We start to dry up in the west. We're dry, we're warm, we're cold. A little bit wet out east. Getting into early next week. Brief warm up, and then boom, another collapsing trough. More cold air into the east. I typically don't like to look out past this 9-10 day time frame, but we have actual model consensus now. GFS European, Canadian of this second trough diving in as well. This could be some very cold air for the east. You also have, and I'm going to call it out every time I see an opportunity. You can see this is as we get towards the end of next week. You can see the opportunity here, and this is far out, but you have model consensus on this second trough, so we'll see. Could always enter in farther west, but notice the storm system riding up the coast here. Notice the cold air moving in across the Great Lakes. Nor'easter opportunity here. Not a great opportunity yet because it's too far out in the control run. Too far out, but there's a setup there for a big nor'easter. We'll see. You'd want, obviously, I think you want this trough to enter a little bit farther west to have time to tilt and bring that snow up the coast from the southeast through the mid-Atlantic up the New England coast. So we'll see. We need some more time for that to progress, and then you go towards the end of the run. Obviously, I don't really believe what's happening at the end here, but hi, buddy. You want to come say hi to the stream? All right, come on. You got to push. Push hard. Okay. Come say hi to stream. Come here. Say hi, stream.
Hi.
Say good morning, stream.
Say good morning, stream.
Good morning, stream. Okay. Say bye. Love you, stream.
I love you, stream.
Okay. Okay, I'll be out there in a little bit, okay? Be out there in a little bit. Close the door. End of the run here, though. Obviously, the GFS control wants to give you another a nor'easter right there. Another opportunity. More cold air. Don't believe the end of the control runs. I will say the ensembles on the European, Canadian, and GFS are finally coming into some consensus of 1, 2, 3 trough, one after another, cold air, snow potential for the east, second half of January. So I like seeing that. I need some more time to believe it. Because January's, our models did pretty good. Our ensembles, our controls, everything did pretty good in December. I've noticed them struggling in January. I think it's just because the lag of that cold air that we expected a little bit earlier from our stratospheric polar vortex stretching and weakening at the end of December. I think they're timing that cold air wrong. Anyways, second half of January, obviously plenty of cold air and snow opportunities in the east if you believe the latest ensembles and controls, which I would say I'm I'm starting to get some confidence in this type of pattern here. All right. Give me 1 second, and I'm going to get to questions, all right? Thanks. Thanks, Ray Ray. He's a cutie, right? All right, guys, give me half a second, and then I'm going to get to all of your questions. All right? Give me 1 second. All right, let's talk about the weather. You guys want to talk about the weather, or you want to talk about something else? Do you guys want to talk about real estate? I'm just kidding. We're talking about the weather. You have no choice. Did you see that day 5, 15%? We're talking about on the CSU. Let me open Discord real quick. Yeah, join the Discord free. Here, let me show you the Discord. The Discord is updated today. Quickly, actually, I should just do this. I put a lot of effort into updating my Discord every day. Okay, so every morning, anyone who's in my Discord, free Discord, can come in here. Snowfall updates. You can see where our snowfall is the next 24 to 48 hours. Easy enough. Winter storm updates. Here's snowfall expectations on the HRRR for the next 48 hours. Right? Short-term model or short-range models. There you go. Temperature updates. You can see our daily lows and highs. 6 to 14 day temperature outlook. 8 to 14 day. We're going to start to get real cool out here, I think, as we get past that 8 to 14 day. Rainfall updates. Where's our rainfall expected? A little bit out west. Not much rainfall out east, but yeah, not much going on there. Here's our precipitation. 6 to 14 days. Pretty dry across much of the country. No severe risk today, tomorrow. General thunderstorm risks. Now, here's what's interesting. CSU. Check this out. Look at this Thursday and Friday. It's a pretty big marginal and slight risk for being out. What is this? Our 4 to 5 days? Yeah, day 4, day 5. I still think it's possible you get a moderate here. I'm not expecting a moderate. I'm saying it's a possibility, depending on how aggressive our trough gets. So there's that. Any big earthquakes happened in the last 48 hours? Nothing. 5.7. Nothing major. Drought monitor. Everyone's in a drought. Not everyone, but I'm actually surprised to see Eastern Colorado isn't in a drought. California's completely out of their drought now. All right, anyways, that's what's going on there. All right. Northwestern Illinois. Hey, there's an opportunity here when you could get some pretty heavy downpours as we get into Thursday night, Friday morning. What happens with this? We still don't know. I still don't fully believe that this is how this is going to develop. I just don't. I think this is a very hard setup for the models to read. One piece of energy trying to eject right out ahead of this storm system. And then you have this trough, and then you have our trough trying to develop its own low pressure as it begins to neutrally tilt, and it moves up towards the Midwest here. I still don't believe the GFS. I still don't believe the European. I think they don't know what's going to happen here. What do I think is going to happen? I think we do end up getting more snow along the back end. I think we end up getting more snow along the back end here. I do. I think this potentially digs and tilts a little bit more than they think. And I don't think our snow starts to show up right there on Saturday. I think there's potential for our snow to get a little bit more snow through here as we get into Friday, not just this little flake. So, but again, models don't understand what's happening here. It's hard for me to fully understand because it all has to do with the timing of that first southern piece of energy. The GFS, that's the GFS. Let's look at the European, how the European treats this. Oh, okay. Well, the European agrees with me. I actually didn't even realize that, but the European does see more snow through here. Thanks for validating my feelings, European. The European does see a little bit more snow through here. This just makes more sense because you get, the only reason I was thinking that, looking at the GFS, is a lot of cold, dry air punching up against this warm, moist air, and the GFS doesn't see any sort of snow developing here. Nah, I don't agree with that. I do agree more with this. This would get Omaha a chance for some quick, nice snow. Pretty cold, fluffy snow, and then maybe even Kansas City gets some snow in on the back end. Denver, out there, eastern Colorado, and then this moves up here. This could end up being this could end up being blizzard conditions for Chicago if this thing dips 100 miles south, 50 miles south. We'll see. But I think the European is handling this slightly better than the GFS. And that would be probably even a more severe day for the southeast. Let me see the 18. Let me see the 06Z of the Euro. That's the 06Z of the Euro. Yeah, I think it handles it slightly better. Does this mean a decent chance for snow for the DMV? No, this would be all rain for the DMV. I don't see any snow for the DMV in the short range. You do see a chance as we get out towards the medium to long range here, January 14th, 15th, 16th. Got a lot of cold air diving it down, diving out east with a lot of energy and a low pressure system trying to dig up the coast here. Another small chance for a nor'easter here, I'd say, and I only say small because it's too far out in the models. If I saw this setup 4 days out, I'd say, ooh, maybe we do get a big one, but can't believe this yet. And then look what the Euro tries to do again here. Storm system up the East Coast, cold air. So second half of January, I think DMV, Mid-Atlantic, New England coast, you start to look really nice again for snow opportunities. Over the short range over the next week, it's looking warm, rainy for you guys. You'll get some off and on blasts of below average air, but I guess North Carolina will miss out this year. Do you understand, according to most people, we're about like 12 days into winter? Now, I consider winter December 1st, meteorological winter. But if you think 12 days into your astronomical winter, it's over. Let me tell you something about North Carolina. North Carolina, typically by this point of the year, has only seen, if they're lucky, an inch of snow. The majority of North Carolina's snow comes second half of January and February. So the fact that you've seen basically no snow in North Carolina by January 5th tells you nothing about your winter, because it's very common for you guys not to see any snow yet this time of year. Just to clarify that. It's very January, February, early March are very cold. Very cold. One of the biggest snowstorms in North Carolina history happened mid-January, I think. When was the 96 blizzard? March 14th? That was mid-March. Happened mid-March. March 14th. One of the biggest snowstorms in North Carolina history. So, and that's still, holy smokes, like 70 days away, over 2 months away. So, No, plenty of time. Chicago looking bad or what? Chicago is looking like a winter battleground zone over the next 10 days. What happens with this system? We know what the European wants to do. It wants to tilt it, bring it just west of the city. The GFS thinks this potentially tries to pull snow and cold air on the backside down into Chicago. Chicago could end up being in a lot of rain, a lot of ice, or a lot of snow as we get into Friday and Saturday. I'm not going to try to pretend like I know what's going to happen because this is a very complex setup. One storm system ejecting out of our main trough over the plains, and then we have another system forming on the face of this trough as it moves up through the plains. If this original piece of energy slows down, this is going to be a really, really strongly tilted trough. You could get a big blizzard heading up towards Chicago or potentially up towards Minneapolis. It depends how quickly this thing neutrally or negatively tilts. It's a complex setup here, so that the models aren't fully agreeing on yet, and it's obvious why. So I'd say just if you're in Chicago, stay up to date on what's happening Friday into Saturday, because you're either going to get rain, ice, or snow, but you're likely going to get very windy conditions. The wind is coming. Angie, I appreciate you. Ray, what's going on? Group, Marissa, Morgan. Really think Friday could become a moderate risk? I think it could. Do I think it will? No, I think it could. If I was a betting man, I'd say no, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if we got it. Like I said, the only reason I'm saying it could, it all depends on how this storm system develops. If we get this thing tilting enough, you're going to get a lot of instability out ahead of here. So, pretty confident in a slight risk right now, so. What's Houston looking like for snow chances this month? Not great until we get into the second half of the month. I think we could get a small chance for snow down in Houston second half of the month. I mean, it's never going to be high. Houston, you're in southeastern Texas. You're never going to have a great chance to get snow. But if you want any, if you believe what our ensembles and teleconnections are pointing towards, big collapse, cold air, trying to push up against the Gulf second half of January, that's going to be an opportunity for Houston. SBC already issued a day 5 slight risk. Oh, did they issue the day 5 slight? I think so. That's what Emmanuel was saying earlier. Oh, yeah, they did. Yeah. Yep. Yep, there it is. This is going to shift. North, west, east, south. Don't believe exactly where the slight risk is right now. It's a day 5 slight risk. So, but yeah, right now, obviously, western Kentucky, western Tennessee, a lot of Alabama, eastern Arkansas, northeastern Louisiana. But this is going to shift around. So, like I said, don't fully buy where it is right now. But definitely could go enhanced. I think moderate's possible, but like I said, I don't expect a moderate. I think if anything, we'll go enhanced. But all right. Again, it really depends. If this thing starts to negatively tilt as it moves up through the Midwest, you're going to have so much instability out ahead of this. The big one for the Mid-Atlantic and East Coast is coming, right? Second half of January gives you multiple opportunities on the GFS and the Euro. So you just need the timing to be right with one of these, you know? There's an opportunity right there for a nor'easter. There's an opportunity right there for a nor'easter. And then you probably get another one behind it. This is a control run, but you see this type of pattern of kind of back-to-back cold air troughs into the east. Our ensembles and teleconnections starting to really buy into this pattern. And the CPC. You can see what the CPC wants to do as we get into that 3 to 4 week time frame. It does like the cool down out towards the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast. So warm air to the south, cold air to the north. You could get something here. Here's our January outlook. Temperature outlook. Now, a lot of you out here are going to say, what? Because it's going to be so hot this week. But again, second half of January looks pretty cold for the east. So let's watch what happens. Can I show the panels? I can do that in a second. Next week, any snow for the North Carolina mountains? Possible you get a tiny bit of snow this Sunday up into the high elevations of, I would say, of Appalachia down in North Carolina. And then you can see what the GFS does here. Middle to end of next week. You'd think with the pattern here, a lot of moisture and dry, cold air, that you could get something again into. This is probably your best opportunity in the short to medium range as we get into early Sunday, this upcoming Sunday to next Thursday, when you've got a lot of cold air and then more moist air interaction up and down the Appalachian Mountain Range here. You could get potentially some nice snow to the North Carolina mountains. Nothing that's close enough to really believe, and then you see what happens out here. But I would say, a couple opportunities there. I like what I see here around the 13th, 14th of January. Arizona, boo. Look at Arizona. Central to southern Arizona. Well, really, the whole state of Arizona could see a little bit of rain, a little bit of snow in the high elevations here in the short term this week. Later, model's calling for a storm for Wisconsin Friday into Saturday. We'll see. GFS likes it. Euro, you can see what's happening on the 06Z. Likes that opportunity as well, including into Minnesota, eastern, southern, southeastern Minnesota, really from Duluth down through Minneapolis into the southeast towards Rochester. 00Z of the Euro wants to put potentially big snow through Madison, Wisconsin, up towards Green Bay, maybe even Milwaukee. We can look at the panels real quick. We can look at the panels. Let's go into ensembles. Panels, winter. Are our panels showing any sort of craziness with snow here? Do we have any wild-looking panels? Remember, these are all different runs of the European that see the starting data different. That see the starting atmosphere, whether it be the temperature, the moisture in the air, whatever. They're initiating each of these runs a little bit differently. Okay. Do we see anything wild on here? You do get a lot of southern snow here, including into the Carolinas, Arkansas, and Oklahoma. Pretty interesting take by that run of the Euro. I don't see anything too crazy here. Midwest snow. More southern snow on this run. On that member of the Euro, major plains, Midwest snowstorm here. Minnesota, Wisconsin buried. The Dakotas, eastern Nebraska, portions of Oklahoma and eastern Colorado get buried there. Major nor'easter on this run right here of the European. Major nor'easter. Feet of snow for the Northeast, including the Mid-Atlantic. That is what that run sees. Big snow into the Mid-Atlantic here on that run as well. Take a look at the rest of these panels here. Anything stand out here? Any possibility? Big nor'easter snowstorm here. Potentially. Looks to be a little inland. More snow potentially into Oklahoma, Tennessee, Arkansas, the Carolinas on this member. More northeast snow. Lots of these are showing Midwest snow. More southern snow on this one. More mid-Atlantic, northeast, coastal snow on this run. Big nor'easter on this run. So there's two out of the 50 members that show a big nor'easter here from the European. Let's take a look at the GFS. GFS showing us anything crazy on the winter panels. Let's see. Potential nor'easter on that run of the panel. Good snow for the Appalachians on this run. On that member. Nor'easter potentially on this member. Big snowstorm for the upper Midwest on this panel. Lots of Michigan snow on this panel. Potentially big nor'easter on this panel as well. This would be really, a lot of people would enjoy this. Lots of snow into Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, Tennessee, up through the Ohio Valley. Bet you that makes some people happy. Big southern snowstorm here. Maybe a foot in Atlanta and then up through Charlotte, out towards D.C., Baltimore. Interesting setup there for a nor'easter. That member, you see that on this member too. Big southern snow here on this member of the GFS. So Hey, the signals are there. Now start crossing your fingers. The reason they're seeing a lot of this is more towards the end of the run, not in the short term. The short term, yeah, we could get a snowstorm through the plains, upper Midwest, Great Lake region. A lot of these models show big snow in the southeast, mid-Atlantic and in the southern plains because of what happens at the end of these control runs out towards January 14th. As we get into the second half of January, all this cold air and all that moisture pulling off the Gulf. See all that? That's what a lot of these members are saying. Hey, one of these could put big snow in the south, up the coast or in the southern plains. So that's what the panels are reflecting. Panel 8 is looking nice. Emmanuel, I'm guessing that put like 2 feet of snow down in Indianapolis. I'm guessing they still don't know what the 2 pieces of energy are doing this Friday. Well, the European and they have a better idea, but it's still quite confusing. The European and GFS both have the southern piece potentially outrunning the northern piece. Okay, here's the GFS 06Z, southern piece, northern piece. You want these a little bit closer. You'd probably want the southern piece back here. Okay, so we don't get as big a tilt. The southern piece outruns that northern piece, but you still get this neutral to negative tilt just based off the cold air and warm air interaction, dry, moist air interaction over the plains, which is why significant severe weather could be setting up for Dixie Alley and portions of the Ohio Valley here Friday into Saturday. We take a look at what the European does here. Again, they're both starting to think, maybe the southern piece outruns the northern piece, but look how close they still are. That's why I'm not willing to say our southern piece of energy outruns our northern piece of energy, because all you need is this southern piece to lag a little bit, slow down a tiny bit, which happens all the time. Happens all the time with these runs, where the model sees the system moving too fast or too slow. This thing moves back 100 miles, and suddenly that's a big blizzard through the plains up towards the upper Midwest. But the European thinks it outruns it a little bit. Still sees a strong neutral, potentially out towards the negative tilt that's going to bring some severe weather to Dixie Alley and the Ohio Valley. So I still don't think they know the timing of that southern piece, and that's why I'm not going to give. I don't have a ton of confidence quite yet on my forecast for Thursday through Saturday. It's a tough one to tell here. I appreciate the follows. I appreciate the subs. Thank you, guys. I need to stretch. Woo! No problem, Matt. Good morning, Lauren. No problem, Jackson. But enough. Our January snow totals are bad. Well behind. What do you mean? It's been 5 days. How could your January snow totals be bad? You're still ahead on the season, I think. Should we see if Indianapolis is still ahead on snow on the season? Let's see. Looks like you are. Looks like Indianapolis is running ahead. Hey, Keith, I appreciate the sub. If you're in the blues, you're running ahead. If you're in the blues or whites, you're running ahead or about average on the season for snowfall. If you're in the reds, you're running behind. Although the darkest reds here, you typically don't see much snow. You could see when you go here, like Charlotte, not really much reds right around Charlotte here because Charlotte doesn't average much snow before January 5th, maybe an inch, if anything. Hey, guys, at least you're not here. Hate to be the bearer of bad news for the West, but yeah, you guys are the real winners here on below average snow. You can see that. Lincoln, Nebraska, we get snow. This is definitely an opportunity for Lincoln, Nebraska snow here on the Euro, yeah. 3 to 6 inches if you get lucky with the current run of the Euro. Like I said, though, I think these models are really struggling with this forecast. I think that southern piece of energy is confusing them. It breaks off like a bowling ball trough, stalls, right off the coast of Southern California and then begins to be picked up by here. That bowling ball trough begins to spin here right off the coast of southwestern California. And then you can see right here, subtropical jet picks it up and throws it across the plains. When does our subtropical jet actually pick that thing up and throw it, though? Because if it waits a little bit, you will have these pieces of energy link up, and you'll have a much bigger snowstorm across the plains. And even me looking at it, guys, those little bowling ball troughs that break off and spin, it's so difficult to tell when it's going to be picked up, and it's going to completely change the forecast. What is our best model in the world? Our GraphCast model. I don't know that this is supposed to be the best model. It needs more time to train though. All right, here we go. There's that southern piece. There's that. You see, GraphCast does have it well outrunning the northern piece there. But, oh wow, way outrunning it. Yeah, I mean, you don't even really get a neutral tilt, so this thing's out over towards the mid-Atlantic. Yeah, this wouldn't even be that bad of severe weather, taking a look at the GraphCast for Dixie Alley in the southeast. How much snow could Iowa get this weekend? Yeah, I mean, it all depends on what you look at. I mean, I'll show you guys what the models are thinking right here, snow-wise. We can compare and contrast the models. Let's do this. Okay. Right, this is on the Euro. The latest GFS. Anyone notice a difference between the snow on these? Euro, put snow through Iowa, put snow through portions of Kansas, puts maybe even, if you're lucky here, 4 to 6 inches into Omaha, put snow in eastern Colorado. Now, I'm leaning towards the Euro because it's a lot of dry air into a lot of warm, moist air off the Gulf here, and the GFS thinking just nothing. We're going to get no precipitation in this region here is bothering me. So I am leaning towards this, not this. But let's take a look at the 06Z of the Euro. There's the 06Z of the Euro. All right, and we take a look. If we go to the GFS, let's take a look at the 00Z of the GFS. Look at it, moves that snow back. Minneapolis would have a big day here, obviously. But it's interesting. This isn't, we're not talking about that far out with this system. We're getting into that 100-hour time frame. So for them to have this much disagreement, a little annoying, right? Look at that. Look at the big difference across the plains. The Euro right now thinks obviously 2 to 5 inches across Iowa. A good chunk of Iowa. Our snow average is 8.8. We had that by the 10th last year. Yeah, but that's for the month. Emmanuel. We're only 5 days into January. I'm new to Texas and hate the climate. What is it looking like coming up? Pretty warm and dry here for Texas over the next about 96 hours. Now we get into 72 hours, really. We get into Thursday. Could have some rainfall moving through portions of northern Texas. Maybe even you get some a little bit of rainfall through Dallas, Houston. I don't expect that to be severe. But as we get into Friday, you could have a little bit of a tail of severe weather here from Dallas-Fort Worth down to Houston and up towards the northeast. potentially. I think it's going to be a lot worse as you get out towards Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, Tennessee, Kentucky. But could get a little bit of severe weather on the tail end of this system here. Nice cool down, maybe coming for Texas this weekend, Saturday into Sunday, before you get a lot of warm air once again. Now, nothing exciting for Texas, I'd say, in the short term. You get to the medium to long range, and you get some very cold air and some snow opportunities, I think, as we get into the third week of January. But nothing too excited in the short term for Dallas, for Houston, San Antonio, Austin. Nothing good here. I'm in Austin. Snow for Cincinnati, Ohio. You got some opportunities here. A little bit of back-end snow. The European likes here as we get into Sunday. That wouldn't be a lot of snow, but then, you, of course, with all this cold air, you have diving in. Nice Bear Clinic boundary setting up as we get into the third week of January. There will be snow opportunities, some good snow opportunities, I think, for the East Coast and the Ohio Valley for sure. In the short range, might not get much snow. Next 7 days, I don't think Cincinnati's going to see much. 10 to 14-day range, that could change. All right, guys. I got to get ready for work. I posted a video today talking about all this stuff. Short, medium, long-range outlook for snow, for severe weather, temperatures, all that good stuff. And I'll be posting another video tomorrow morning. And I'll be live streaming again tomorrow morning. I appreciate any of the follows, any of the subs. Appreciate any of the gifts, guys. And just being in here, engaging, helping the algorithm. Gemini, I appreciate you. Jen, Tough, what's going on? Emmanuel, all the mods, you guys are awesome. My Discord is Connor's Climate Corner HQ. Yep, Connor's Climate Corner HQ. Free to join. Now, when you do join, you probably won't see anything in the Discord at first. Every single day, I go into the Discord, see if there's new members, and then I make you a part of the Climate Crew. I change you to become Climate Crew, and then you'll see everything in the Discord. So if you join the Discord and you see nothing, don't freak out right away. But the link, that is my Discord. The link to my Discord is in all of my YouTube live streams in the description, and all of my YouTube videos in the description. You can click it, get to my Discord. Updated every day. Like I said, if you first get in there, see nothing, just give me, it could take an hour, 24 hours, but every day I check and I change everyone's status in there to Climate Crew. Everyone have a fantastic day. Let's have a good start to the new year. And I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Later, guys. Thank you, mods.